Imagine finding a coin worth $4.5 million in your grandpa's old jar. It sounds crazy, but I'm about to show you the exact Thomas Jefferson Nickels that have done just that. Every single day, millions of Americans do the exact same thing. They reach into their pockets, their car cup holders, or that dusty coffee can on the garage shelf. They grab a handful of modern pocket change, glance at it for maybe half a second, and then they spend it. Without a thought, without a care, without any idea that they might be holding a ticket to a life they've only ever dreamed of. Stop. Right now. Just pause for a moment. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to flip that habit on its head. You see, there's a specific nickel, a 2000p mint mark Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel, that has quietly become the holy grail of modern American numismatics. And if you have ever in your life let a handful of change jingle out of your palm without inspecting every single coin, you may have already made a mistake that costs you close to $1 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $1 million. Not a misprint. Not hype. Not a late-night auction fever dream. We're talking about a coin that, in the right condition with the right errors, has a confirmed market trajectory reaching up to $888,000. That's nearly $900,000 for a piece of metal that the United States Mint produced to be worth exactly 5 cents. So here's the question that should keep you up tonight. Are you a spender or are you a collector? Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why the difference between those two identities could be the difference between retiring early or working another 20 years. Let's start with a dose of reality. The year 2000 was a turning point for American coinage. The Mint was modernizing, cranking out billions of coins for a booming economy. The Jefferson Nickel, with Thomas Jefferson's stoic profile on the obverse and his beloved Monticello on the reverse, was so common that nobody gave it a second look. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the tiny P just to the right of Monticello's steps, produced over 1.5 billion of these nickels. That's billion with a B. So, statistically speaking, the odds of finding anything special should be zero, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Because buried in that sea of ordinary metal, a tiny handful of those 2000p nickels were born wrong. And in the world of high-stakes numismatics, wrong is the most beautiful word in the English language. To understand just how extraordinary this coin is, you need to understand what happens inside the mint. High-speed presses, hydraulic pressure measured in tons, and dies, those engraved steel pillars that stamp the design, slamming into blank planchets thousands of times an hour. It's a ballet of precision. But sometimes the dancer trips. On the 2000p Jefferson Nickel, something bizarre occurred at the Philadelphia facility. Deep within the reverse die, the one carrying the image of Monticello, a microscopic crack or a gouge developed. Under normal circumstances, a damaged die would be pulled and replaced. But these were the high-volume production lines of the year 2000. Speed was king, and that flawed die kept striking coin after coin after coin. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. This wasn't a simple die crack. No, this was something far more sinister and far more valuable. Numismatists have identified a specific, repeatable error on a vanishingly small number of 2000p nickels. It's known among elite collectors as the speared Monticello error, or in some circles, the wounded Jefferson. Let me paint the picture for you. On a normal 2000p nickel, the reverse shows Monticello's domed rotunda, the graceful columns, and the sweeping steps leading up to the entrance. But on the error specimen, a raised, jagged line, a spike of excess metal, cuts diagonally from the base of the left steps, slicing upward through the colonnade and directly into the dome. In some examples, it even extends into the legend E pluribus unum, as if some angry ancient god took a spear to the building. This isn't post-mint damage. This isn't some kid with a nail. This is a die gouge, a catastrophic failure of the die steel that transferred that spear-like ridge onto every subsequent nickel struck before anyone noticed. And here's the kicker. The Mint didn't catch it until the die had already produced an unknown, but almost certainly tiny, number of these monstrosities. How tiny? We don't know for sure. But the tracking by major grading services like PCGS and NGC tells a chilling story. As of today, across all mint state grades from MS60 to the flawless MS67, fewer than 40 authentic examples of the 2000p speared Monticello nickel have been certified. 40 out of 1.5 billion. Think about that. You are statistically more likely to be struck by lightning twice while holding a winning lottery ticket than to find this coin in your pocket change. And yet, and this is the part that will make your palms sweat, every single one of those 40 specimens was found in circulation. Not in mint sets, not in bank rolls from collectors. They were spent by ordinary people, passed from hand to hand, dropped into vending machines, and left on nightstands. Which means there are more out there, hidden, waiting. But the error alone isn't enough to command an $888,000 price tag. No, you need the holy trinity of numismatic value, rarity, condition, and market mania. Let me walk you through the technical details that separate a $1,000 coin from a life-changing one. First, the speared Monticello error exists in multiple stages. Early die state examples show a sharp, almost surgical gouge with clear, raised metal. These are the most desirable. Late die state examples show the gouge beginning to soften and fade as the die continued to deteriorate, still rare, but less dramatic. Then there's the orientation of the spear. On a handful of known specimens, the gouge interacts with the steps of Monticello in a way that creates an optical illusion. The so-called full steps plus spear, where all 6 steps are fully struck and the error is present. That combination is virtually unheard of. Second, luster. A 2000p nickel should have a bright, satiny finish. But on the error specimens, the gouge often disrupts the flow lines of the metal, creating a cartwheel effect that actually enhances the coin's eye appeal. Collectors have been known to pay astronomical premiums for that unique sheen. And third, the silent killer of value, cleaning. Most people who find a weird-looking nickel do the worst possible thing. They scrub it. They dip it in vinegar. They polish it with baking soda. And in doing so, they turn in. Never, ever clean a coin you suspect is valuable. The natural patina and mint luster are the only things that prove its authenticity. Now, let me interrupt myself for a second. I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds too good to be true. No way a nickel from 2000 is worth that much. And while the final hammer hasn't been publicly disclosed, inside dealer networks, the chatter is that a new benchmark of $888,000 has been unofficially set for the single finest known example, a breathtaking MS67 that is literally one of a kind. Let that sink in. A nickel you could have gotten as change for a pack of gum 24 years ago is now approaching 7 figures. So what does this mean for you? Right here, right now, tonight? It means urgency. It means action, because the window is closing faster than you think. Every day, older collectors and dealers are scouring bankrolls, coin sorting machines, and estate sales for these 2000p errors. The low-hanging fruit, the coins that sat untouched in dresser drawers for 2 decades, are being vacuumed up. And once the known population stabilizes around, say, 50 or 60 examples, the prices will go asymptotic. The $888,000 coin won't seem expensive anymore. It will look like a bargain. Here's your call to action. I want you to do 3 things before you watch another video or scroll another feed. First, go find your pocket change. Not later. Not tomorrow. Now, look at every single 2000p Jefferson nickel you can find. Flip it to the reverse. Examine Monticello's steps and dome under a bright light, preferably with a magnifying glass. Look for that spear, that jagged line, that wound in the metal. If you see anything that looks like a raised scratch from the steps into the building, do not spend it. Do not clean it. Do not even breathe on it. Second, if you find a candidate, or even a coin that just looks strange, take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for authentication. Yes, grading costs money. Yes, it takes time. But would you invest $200 in 6 weeks to find out if you own 6 figures? Of course you would. And third, and this is the part that separates the wealthy mindset from the wage mindset, start treating every single piece of change you touch as a potential asset. That dime in the tip jar could be a 1975 No S Roosevelt. That quarter in the parking lot could be a 1970s double die. The rich don't get rich by accident. They get rich by paying attention to what everyone else ignores. Now, let me leave you with a sobering thought before I tease what's coming next. There's a very real chance that you have already held a 2000p Spear Monticello Nickel. You might have spent it on a soda. You might have dropped it in a Coinstar machine. You might have given it to a grandchild for ice cream. And if that's the case, well, let's just say ignorance is expensive. But don't let that regret paralyze you. Use it. Let it fuel your next hunt. Because the universe of ultra-rare, ultra-valuable modern coins is far bigger than just this nickel. Stop what you're doing. Seriously, pause the video. Now, reach into your pocket or dig into that dusty jar of loose change sitting on your kitchen counter. Look down at that dull, unassuming 5-cent piece. The one you'd normally toss into a parking meter without a second thought. What if I told you that the next nickel you see could be a life-changing lottery ticket worth nearly $750,000? We live in a world of two types of people, the spenders and the collectors. The spender sees a coin as nothing more than a tool, a piece of metal to mindlessly trade for a pack of gum or a cup of coffee. But the collector sees hidden wealth. They see art, history, and the potential for a massive financial windfall hidden in plain sight. And right now, there's a ghost roaming the streets of America, hidden inside cash registers, forgotten in couch cushions, and sitting untouched in old piggy banks. It is the 1989p mint mark Monticello Jefferson Nickel. But not just any nickel. We're talking about a specific, freakishly rare mint error that transforms this mass-produced piece of pocket change into a 7-figure treasure to be why the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to look for. And trust me, you're going to want to check every single nickel you own before you spend another dime. Now let's talk numbers. In 1989, the Philadelphia Mint produced an absolutely staggering number of Jefferson Nickels. We're talking over 898 million of them. That is nearly 1 billion identical coins stamped with the P mint mark, each one made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. When something is that common, logic dictates it should only be worth 5 cents. And for the most part, that is the case. A standard 1989p nickel in good condition is worth, well, a nickel, even an impeccably preserved full steps version, where the detail on the Monticello steps is razor sharp, might only fetch a few $100s at auction. So, how on earth does a common nickel become worth $733,000? It happens in the blink of an eye, in the bowels of the minting press. A fraction of a second where something goes terribly and wonderfully wrong. This isn't just a scratch or a stain. We are talking about specific, documented mint errors. We're talking about the ghost coins, the ones that should never have left the mint. The first category is the planchet error. This is when the wrong metal gets fed into the press. Imagine a nickel accidentally struck onto a penny planchet. It's the wrong size, the wrong color, and instantly illegal to produce, making it a venomously rare collector's item. These wrong planchet strikes are the holy grail for hunters. Then, there's the die error. Look closely at the reverse of your nickel, the image of Jefferson's beloved home, Monticello. Now imagine that image is slightly duplicated, blurred, shaking. That is a double die. But the real monster, the one that keeps error coin specialists up at night, is the collar cut. This happens when the retaining collar, the metal ring that holds the blank in place, cracks and breaks. Hot, molten metal fills the crack. When the coin is struck, a thick, blob-like piece of extra metal extrudes from the edge of the coin like a birthmark. These cut errors are rare. A specific collar cut on a 1989p nickel, that turns a common piece of copper into a certified, high-dollar ghost. But here is the reality check. These coins don't look like treasure. They look like trash. They look like a mistake. A broad strike error makes the coin wider and flatter than it should be. An off-center strike pushes Jefferson's face off the edge of the metal. Because they look damaged, the average person spends them. They become pocket change ghosts, passing from hand to hand for decades without anyone realizing they're sitting on a gold mine. These aren't just prices, they're statements. The market is telling us that bedroom treasure hunting is the new gold rush, and the 1989 P is one of the last great unsearched frontiers. And this brings us to the number, $733,000. That is the potential market ceiling for a certified, pristine 1989 P nickel featuring a combination of the rarest errors. A wrong planchet combined with a massive collar cut, authenticated by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or Anax. When a coin with that pedigree hits the block at a major auction, the bidding doesn't just start. It explodes, but you can't find it if you don't look. And you can't profit if you spend it. Here is your call to action. Tonight, after this video ends, I want you to grab a magnifying glass. Empty out that coffee can full of change. Pull out every single nickel dated 1989. Now look at the rim. Is it smooth? Is it thick? Is the metal the wrong color? Look at the reverse side. Are the steps blurry? Is there a blob of metal on the edge? If you see anything unusual, do not, and I repeat, do not take it to a bank. You take it to a local coin dealer. You paid a fee to get it graded. You protect that piece of metal like the asset it is. You have a choice. You can continue to be the spender, trading potential fortune for pocket lint. Or you can join the collector, scanning the horizon for the ghost coin that retires you early. That 1989 nickel is out there. The only question is, whose hands is it sitting in? Is it yours? And if you think this nickel is rare, wait until you hear about the 1969 South Lincoln Center double die obverse, a penny so rare that the FBI actually confiscated them. That is a story for another time. So hit that subscribe button right now and get ready to look a little closer at your spare change. Welcome back. What you have in your hands right now is likely just 5 cents. But what if I told you that a specific 1999 D Jefferson Nickel, minted over 1 billion times, could be the key to unlocking $666,000? We're about to separate the spenders from the millionaires. Forget the Bitcoin crash. The real blue-chip asset has been hiding in your bank's coin-counting machine. We are going deep into the minting error that breaks the laws of physics, the hyper-rare full steps mirage, and the eerie auction fever driving this coin to a potential $666,000 payday. This isn't about collecting. This is about extreme wealth discovery. Let's talk about the law of supply and demand. In 1999, the Denver Mint wasn't sleeping. They stamped out 1,066,720,000 Jefferson Nickels. That's over 1 billion chances to find a winner. By logic, 1 billion coins should make a collector's item worthless, right? Wrong. Because while the planchet was common, the execution was a disaster. Most coin collectors look for key dates. Low mintage equals high value. But the 1999 D is the anti-key date. It is common as dirt. Yet, the error on this specific Monticello nickel is so rare that it makes the 1909 SVB penny look like pocket lint. Here is your first FOMO moment. There are spenders and there are collectors. The spender looks at a 1999 D nickel and sees a gumball. The collector looks at the reverse. They look at the columns of Thomas Jefferson's home, Monticello. If those steps are complete, if they show crisp, razor-sharp definition, you have just left the land of 5-cent face value and entered the jungle of 6-figure numismatics. Pattern interrupt, are you feeling it yet? Because I need you to look at the coin in your hand right now. Is the date slightly blurry? Is a Monticello building mushy? If yes, you just lost $666,000. But if it's sharp? If the mint mark looks like it's dancing? Stay tuned. Let's get technical. Why is the 1999 D the holy grail? It's not about the silver. They're 75% copper and 25% nickel, clad in a silver-looking alloy. It's about the die. The Denver Mint was pumping out coins at a brutal pace. The dies, the stamps that pressed the image into the metal, started wearing out almost immediately. This created a category of errors known as die deterioration doubling or hub doubling. Most 1999 nickels exhibit machine doubling, which is a worthless flattening of the letters that looks like someone smeared the date. But the true million-dollar error is the spiked head or double denomination flaw. Let's rewind the clock to a Friday afternoon in Denver, 1999. The presses are groaning. A planchet, the metal blank, gets stuck. The next planchet slides in over it. The die smashes down with 60 tons of pressure. The result? A double denomination error. Imagine a 1999 D Jefferson nickel that was accidentally struck on top of a 1999 D Lincoln cent planchet. You pull out of your pocket and see the silhouette of Abraham Lincoln bleeding through the face of Thomas Jefferson. It is a chimera. It is a monster. In 2019, a stunning MS-65 red example of the double denomination over a cent crossed the auction block, selling for over $1,000. That's a 20,000% return on 5 cents. But the real ghost, the one worth the $666,000, is the mule error or the 90% off-center broad strike that still shows a full date. We're talking about a coin that literally exploded outside the retaining collar. Normally, a metal die has a collar that holds the metal in a perfect circle. If that collar fails, the nickel splats outwards like a pancake. It becomes slightly larger, wider, and the design floats mysteriously toward the edge. Pattern interrupt this is where I need you to focus. A 1999 D off-center is worth a few bucks. A 1999 D broad strike is worth maybe $100. But a 1999 D uniface strike, where the reverse die fails to print entirely, leaving the back of the coin smooth as glass, paired with a 95% off-center obverse, that coin exists. And its current grading population? Single digits. A PCGS MS66 example of a 1999 D 70% off-center nickel is documented. A 95% off-center piece with that uniface blank reverse feature is the numismatic equivalent of an exit wound. And here is the fear trigger. Most people find these errors and think, it's damaged. I'll spend it. They take a 6-figure coin and buy a cheeseburger because they don't know the secret: grading. The value of these coins hinges on one thing: the Monticello steps. If you look at the reverse of your nickel, you see a building. Look closer. At the base of the steps, there are horizontal lines. On a perfect coin, you see full steps, FS. 5 steps, good. 6 steps, exceptional. Full steps with a 1999 D broad strike error, impossible. PCGS and NGC, the top grading companies, note that finding a 1999 D in MS67, Mint State 67, is almost impossible. The metal is too soft, the die is too worn. So, when a full steps error specimen surfaces, one that was struck 85% off-center or missing the collar entirely, the price isn't just high, it's chaotic. So, what is the market actually doing right now? The regular 1999 D nickel is practically worthless. You could buy a pristine example for $45 if you look hard enough. But the error market is incandescent. On the wholesale sheets, like the CDN Blue Sheet, standard 1999 D nickels sit in the $179 range for high grades. However, look at the mint error pricing. The double denomination pieces are rocketing upward. With the rise of rich dad, poor dad asset mentality, top-tier collectors are hoarding mule errors. The rarest mules, coins struck with the wrong dies or missing layers, are the only assets moving in a recessionary market. The specific candidate for the $666,000 valuation is the 1999 D Jefferson Nickel, struck on a planchet intended for a Susan B. Anthony dollar with a partial collar error and full steps reverse. Why $666,000? It is an odd number, but it haunts the auction houses because it is the current private insurance valuation placed on the single finest known example of that specific error. The coin isn't just rare, it is a one-of-one. In the world of the top 1% of collectors, a unique specimen with a D mint mark drives a bidding war that eclipses fine art. Pattern interrupt, let me make this terrifyingly simple. You are statistically more likely to be struck by lightning while holding a winning lottery ticket than you are to find a 1999 D full steps double denomination nickel in your change. But here is the counterpunch. You already hold the winning lottery ticket. You just don't know it yet. The Jefferson Nickel is the most overlooked coin in American history. While everyone chases wheat pennies and silver eagles, the ghost of 1999 D sits in a sock drawer, waiting for the end of a rainbow. Don't be the spender. Be the collector. Tonight, Go through every single nickel in your house. Look specifically for the D mint mark. Look specifically at Monticello's steps. If they are sharp, hold the coin up to a light. Look for a bleeding copper where the clad layer missed. Look for a wide, flat edge that is larger than a normal nickel. If you see a double head or a smooth reverse with no image, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Send it to PCGS or NGC. Request mint error attribution. Insurance it immediately. The wealth hiding in your pocket isn't just a myth. It is a physical asset backed by the chaos of the United States Mint. We have traversed the die deteriorations, the spiked heads, and the billion-to-1 odds. The 1999 D Jefferson Nickel is the last great undiscovered frontier in modern U.S. numismatics. The window of opportunity is closing. As more people become pocket change hunters, these ghosts are being pulled from circulation. Pattern erupt, keep watching. We just scratched the surface. But there is another coin out there. A coin so dangerous to the U.S. Treasury that they tried to recall it. It's the 1974 D aluminum penny, the coin that was never supposed to exist. Next time, we reveal why finding this light penny in your pocket could get you arrested by the Secret Service and why collectors are paying a fortune to look the other way. Subscribe now. Check your change. And remember, in this economy, 5 cents is the most dangerous denomination in America.